In this video, I'm going to show you the exact step-by-step system you can use to stop rheumatoid arthritis flares in just 7 days without a single medication. For those of you who don't know me, hi, my name is Drew. I used to have horrible rheumatoid arthritis, POTS, and a bunch of other autoimmune diseases, and I've reversed them all using natural means. And on this channel, I teach you guys how to do the exact same. So, there is a ton of new recent research on new holistic ways that we can actually use and implement to reverse arthritis or to help prevent flares or put it into remission. And so I'm going to break down all of these different methods, and a lot of them are extremely powerful, like crazy, crazy powerful. Like one of them reduces your chance of rheumatoid arthritis by 22%, which is crazy. That's like almost a fourth down. And so in combination, you're getting a combined health effect to greatly reduce your risk of rheumatoid arthritis and to actually put it into remission and like basically cure the problem. And so first of all is fasting. So fasting has a bunch of proof in rheumatoid arthritis. Fasting has shown like long-term effects, long-term help in mice models, even like way after the fast. Like they did a like week-long fast for mice and rats, and they actually found that even though it was just a one-time thing, it showed benefits for like years after the experiment. And so what you can do is to, I wouldn't suggest a 7-day therapeutic fast. That's, you can do it if you want to, but I mean, just like get a doctor, get someone to supervise you if you choose to do it. Personally, I wouldn't do it. I would probably stick to a 48-hour fast or a 24-hour fast every week. That's probably the most that normal people can handle, unless you're like some sort of superhuman, then go for it. But if you aren't able to like go a full day, you can also do intermittent fasting. I do not prefer intermittent fasting just because it spikes cortisol in the long term, because the longer you go without ingesting any food, your body starts pumping out cortisol, because cortisol helps to break down your fat and break down your connective tissue, and break down different muscles and stuff to help supply your body. So I don't suggest intermittent fasting. It's better to just do 1 day a week. Is more natural. It mimics more natural human living more closely. Like if you think about like wild humans, they would have gone like a day without food, but once they like killed a boar or killed a elephant or something like that, they would have had like meat for days, and they would have feasted, and then they would just have like a complete 48 to 24 hour of like just on the hunt. And so, yeah, that's why I prefer just having full day fasts instead of intermittent fasts, because it just helps cortisol balance and stuff like that. And so, next point. In mouse studies on this fasting, it actually helped, it was actually shown to prevent arthritis onset, reduced joint damage, and flipped immune gene activity. And also, over half of participants in one trial felt improvement within the first week of trying this intermittent fasting. And so the reason why this is because when you're in a fasting state, your cells get put into something called autophagy. And so autophagy is when your cells start breaking down themselves and start getting rid of the useless parts. Basically, there is a bit in your cells, there's a part of your cell called a lysosome. This is one of the effects of autophagy. There's multiple. It also helps with your mitochondria. It also helps across the cytoplasm. But there's one part called a lysosome, and this is very important because lysosomes are the basically the trash bag of your cells. And so all this junk gets stuck into these lysosomes. And so when you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have a ton of inflammation, and you have a ton of garbage and junk inside of your cells. So after you've accumulated all that garbage in these lysosomes, it really helps to reduce your inflammation if you can empty that out. And that's what fasting does, is it helps to empty out those lysosomes, get it into your bloodstream so that you can actually get it to the liver, to the gallbladder, and actually excrete it. So Fasting also helps to actually calm down your inflammation pathways, your immune pathways. And one of the ways it does this, which is very important, is through calming down macrophages. And so macrophages are like these big globs of gum. They're basically giant globs of gum in your immune system. And basically, the macrophage's job is to, when bacteria or some sort of inflammation comes into your system, some sort of outside invader, what they do is these macrophages sweep into the molecular battlefield and they just grab onto random bacteria. They grab onto all the inflammation, all the inflammatory particles. They sweep them up, but there is a problem because these macrophages now have a bunch of broken bacteria DNA and proteins inside of themselves. So what's normally supposed to happen is that M1 macrophages, which are the attack macrophages, are supposed to convert to M2 macrophages, which are supposed to take those bacteria bits and convert them and break them down into less harmful substances. But the problem is in autoimmune people, in people with massive inflammation and out of whack immune systems, this conversion isn't allowed to happen. The immune system stops the M1 macrophages from converting to M2 macrophages. So, what your body does instead is actually take those M1 macrophages, they grab onto these bacterial bits, and they travel to your joints and they dump them. And so what this does is this is actually the root cause of rheumatoid arthritis is macrophages picking up inflammatory particles and going and dragging them to your joints, depositing them there, and then your immune system starts attacking that because it's a foreign invader in your joints. It's like basically thinking that I don't know, something has like ripped into your bone and like deposited a bunch of bacteria fragments. Obviously, that's not what happened, but your body treats it the same way. And so you're getting basically this chronic inflammation, like it's almost like it's an infection, which it is. Um, and so you get a ton of inflammation. But the great part about this is that when you fast, this whole process resets. And on top of that, you actually heal your gut. When you fast, you give your gut time to heal, especially for these 24 and 48-hour fasts. Your gut lining starts to rebuild and reconstruct, and a huge part of the source of these bacterial bits is via the leaky gut barrier. Because the bacteria seep through the leaky gut, the macrophages attack, macrophages port that bacteria right to the bones, and now you have rheumatoid arthritis. So, while we're on the subject of diets and fasting, let's move on to the diet that helps to go along with this. So, the best diet you can have for rheumatoid arthritis is to do as much red meat as possible. Red meat is your best friend. It is the most biologically similar to your body, and it also comes with the least amount of toxins. See, plants have a ton of toxins. They are filled to the brim with as much toxins as possible because animals and plants are in this biological war. Plants want to be as poisonous as possible to keep mammals and animals from eating them. And animals want to obviously develop ways to deal with those toxins to process them. But when you're in this autoimmune state, you want to just reduce inflammation as much as possible. And so there are tons of carcinogens, there are tons of different types of toxins that will rip apart your gut, like lectins, oxalates, phytates, steal your nutrients, destroy your gut, even give you cancer, all in these plants. And so the good thing about animals is that they don't really have their goal is to protect themselves while they're still alive. Obviously, their meat isn't like any use after they're dead. So their goal is to grow horns and stuff like that, which we don't need to worry about since we're getting like already packaged meat. And so maximize your animal proteins as much as possible in this stage. I do not suggest long-term carnivore diet. I think that's pretty stupid. Honestly, we evolved to eat a mixture of plants and animals, about like a 60% meat to 40% plant ratio, which is optimal. People try to avoid toxins even after they're healthy, which I think is really stupid just because even though there are toxins in plants, those toxins aren't necessarily always bad. It's like sunlight. Sunlight causes a bunch of damage to your skin. It has UV radiation, which breaks down collagen and fibrin in your skin. And so plants do the same thing. Even though they're causing damage to you, they are actually still building you up in the long term. But still, since you have this already have a ton of inflammation, there's no sense in adding more to that by eating plants. But if you can't go full carnivore for the short term, what you can do is basically take your vegetables, research low oxalate, low lectin, low anti-nutrient foods like squash or carrots is another good one. And so what you're going to do is you're going to peel them and get rid of all the fibrous bits, like the seeds and the coat. You're going to get rid of those, and you're just going to put it into a pressure cooker and cook it as long as possible. What this is going to do is this is going to break down the harmful compounds, and it's going to break down the fiber, because fiber is very damaging to your gut when you have a very weak gut lining. And so it's going to be very soft. That way you can actually start to digest and heal your gut lining a bit, and then you can start introducing harder and harder foods and build from there. I also would just suggest for the time being to remove eggs and also dairy, especially if you're doing pasteurized A1 dairy. Um, and just test them. If you've actually tested and made sure you're not allergic to eggs, and actually gone without eggs and tested with and without, and same for milk, then go for it. It doesn't matter. It's just that it's a massive allergen, and allergens are a huge problem for rheumatoid arthritis and autoimmune disease. Like, there was just this one girl who was eating blueberries every day because her mother heard that it was healthy. And it turned out that those blueberries were giving her rheumatoid arthritis. She had like debilitating rheumatoid arthritis. She had like multiple surgeries, which is absolutely crazy. And it's literally just because of blueberries. So you don't want to underestimate this stuff. This is why I said it can reverse it in 7 days, is because if you're eating these sort of allergen stuff and unknowingly, you can completely change your life just by cutting out gluten or cutting out some sort of like quinoa, all this junk that you're fed. And so allergens are massive, like I said. Like, for me personally, I have done a bunch of allergy testing. Like, I've done almost like every single type there is except for IgF, I think. Yeah, that's it. That sounds about right. I've done all of them except for IgF. And so the problem is that it doesn't these tests are not really accurate at all. I went for like years without actually eating the stuff that these tests showed up with, but after I actually started eating them again, I realized that I wasn't actually allergic, and they were just like false positives. But things that I was actually allergic to, things that I actually react to, it didn't show up with. Like, for example, I was eating cumin and I had no idea I was allergic. But it turns out that when I did this actually functional allergen test that I'm about to show you, cumin showed up, but it didn't show up on any of the normal tests. And this actually made a huge difference in learning about this actual real good allergy test, because cumin actually caused a ton of problems for me that I didn't realize, because it's just like mixed with a bunch of different foods, so it's really hard to pin down. And so, like, I would get huge, massive stomach upset. And so, what the actual method is you're going to get whatever food you suspect or whatever food you want to like reintroduce into your diet. You're going to take it and you're going to strap it to your wrist, like right here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to leave it there for like 6 hours, and or as long as you can. 6 hours, you can probably go into like 18 hours or something like that. And so what you will see is that after you take it off, if it has a red mark that stays for like hours afterward, that's an allergy, and the longer it stays, the more allergic you are to it. Like, when with the cumin, I was saying that mark actually lasted for like 3 or 4 days, which is insane. So you're going to be able to easily tell what you're allergic to. And this is 10 times better than all these allergy tests because you're actually visibly seeing that your body reacts to it. It's not just showing on some tests that isn't actually in reality. And there's even a study that standard blood allergy tests miss up to 50% of actual food triggers, which is insane. I want to see what how many false positives it gives, but there's no data on that I have right now. And so, just to close off with a few more tips that have shown a lot of robust research benefits are omega 3s. Omega 3s have shown massive difference in rheumatoid arthritis. A meta-analysis show that about 20 to 25% reduction in stiffness and joint tenderness with omega 3 intake. And just as a anecdotal story, I've even heard of people who have actually gone into complete remission of rheumatoid arthritis just by supplementing fish oil, which is insane again. So definitely like pick that up because if this is some just like the one thing you're missing, like what's that worth to you? Like it costs like probably like $20 to get a good omega 3 pill, or even just like getting some like hemp seeds or something like that. So definitely actually invest in this and test it out. It's worth the shot to see if you actually see some benefit in it. And so the final thing that helps is getting sun exposure and vitamin D. So high UVB exposure was linked to a 21% lower arthritis risk, and vitamin D insufficiency affects 55% of rheumatoid arthritis patients. And so the reason why this is because vitamin D has a very high impact on the immune system as a whole. There is like vitamin D receptors on like every single cell of your body, which is insane. And so it also modulates the reactivity of your immune system. So it really helps a lot. And it's actually been shown that women with the highest vitamin D intake had a 33% lower risk of rheumatoid arthritis. So simply just pairing that statistic with the last one, so 33% and 25%, you've already gone down by like 58%. So you've already over halved your cause or halved your rate of rheumatoid arthritis. So like half of you could go into remission or feel like halfway better, which is a huge percent because once you actually get the ball rolling, and you actually feel better, your immune system calms down over time. Even if you start out with just like a 50% increase, that snowballs into your immune system getting calmer and calmer because it actually has like a breath of fresh air. And so you want to actually see the sun and actually get some sun exposure to get this vitamin D. You can take vitamin D pills. I just think that vitamin D pills are like really not worth it. Like, dude, just go in the sun. It's not that hard. Because it's going to give you a bunch of benefits besides just simply vitamin D. You're going to get the hormonal benefits. Sun exposure is massive for testosterone and estrogen. It's going to give you like a tanning effect. It's going to give you different biological markers. Like it actually interacts with your cells in such a way to basically tell you, hey, we're in the sun, and it completely changes your physiology to actually start rebuilding your tissue. So just to sum up, start fasting, do 24 to 48 hours once a week if you're able to. Intermittent fasting if you can't, slightly worse, but do what you can. Get your diet in as much red meat as possible. Fix your gut, do omega 3s, and get in the sun for like 30 minutes. Best case scenario, you can get like an hour and 30 minutes in the sun. And then you will actually start feeling way better, reduce your chances of, or increase your chances of remission like significantly, like a crazy amount. And so, yeah, just let me know how it goes for you guys and subscribe to the channel for more information on how you can help rheumatoid arthritis.